invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sowed. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load. I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Well, I don't know if I'm walking on solid ground, 'cause everything around me is falling down. And all I want is for someone to help me. I had a job.
KBLA Talk 1580. I need a dollar or several trillion. It is time for Freedmen Friday. We do this every week. It's a comprehensive reparations conversation. Here's the thing. Last week we had a rapper, Jay French, on the show, and a lot of people were upset because he was standing against reparations. I have had a lot of people attacking me online, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. Do you? But the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I want you to know, if you are joining us right now for Freedmen Friday because of that, I just need you to know that we've been doing this every Friday, our second hour, 7 a.m., for a year and a half, 18 months. Every single week, we dedicate the second hour of the show to reparations. Pan-Africanists, ADOS, Freedmen, whatever camp you're from, we welcome you. We've had a few Republicans and some folks that are against it because I think it helps us sharpen our arguments and understand why we stand where we stand. We have all different voices. Everybody is welcome. I'm argue with you. And you might too, because you're always invited in at 800-920-1580. It's also why I started out last week's conversation by inviting you to suggest some folks, because after 18 months, we've had a lot of major voices, and some folks have repeated. We've had almost every member of the California Task Force, and the voices you haven't heard, you know why? They either decided they didn't want to come, or they haven't been able to make time yet, and we're still working on it. So I just wanted to say that if you're new here, this is what we do around here. Welcoming into the studio the executive director and co-founder of the California Black Power Network. That's a growing ecosystem, they say, of Black-led and Black-serving community-based organizations coming together to change the lived conditions of Black Californians by dismantling systemic and anti-Black racism. Before being part of the Black Power Network, he was the redistricting lead and policy director of the California Black Census and Redistricting Hub. He was a policy and strategic projects manager for California Calls and many other hats. James Woodson, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. And I'm going to make the unusual request to have you introduce your colleague, because I was not made aware that he was coming, so I don't have all the biographical info in front of me, but we welcome him as well.
Yeah, so again, we're a statewide network of Black-led organizations across the state. With me today, I have one of the leaders of one of our members, Social Justice Learning Institute. This is Derek Steele. He's the executive director. He's also one of the leaders of Bold Black LA. And we have been really working together for the last several years. But as we are facing these kind of attacks from the federal administration, there's just been a lot tighter collaboration. And so wanted to bring him up here and really, give his perspective as well.
Nice to meet you, Derek Steele. Say again the name of your organization.
So I'm the executive director of the Social Justice Learning Institute.
Social Justice.
Out of Inglewood, California. But I am the one of the organizers for the Bold Black LA movement here in Los Angeles County as well.
Okay, so let's start with the umbrella organization, which is California Black Power Network.
Yeah.
Tell me where the intersection is with reparations.
Sure. Yeah. So, number one, we started out doing work in 2016, coming out of the Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, murders. And really the goal was to try to build infrastructure around the energy that we saw in the street, right? We knew that, Black power building is important to keep the momentum. And so we started working with 12 organizations, really trying to do training and capacity building and teach them how to do integrated voter engagement. Essentially what that is traditionally, right, campaigns, political campaigns will hire people from outside of the state, from Sacramento, and have them come in and do outreach, right? This model was different when we were working with actual community-based organizations rooted in community, having, folks from their base, their members actually do the outreach, talking to their neighbors about the issues that were important to them. We then transitioned into census and redistricting work. We wanted to make sure that federal funding is dependent on census, counts and dollars. So we wanted to make sure that Black communities had, money and resources. We also wanted to make sure that Black communities had political representation through the redistricting process. We then, formed this kind of longer-term organization out of all of that work. We focus on 7 different issues: housing, criminal justice, healthcare, education, economic opportunity, healthy built environment and kind of environmental justice issues, democracy issues. Really, the intersection with reparations is, number one, we know that Black folks face the disparities that they face because of the historic and really current harms that are being caused, right? So you can't start talking about equity for Black folks until you repair the harms that have been done. I think the other piece that I would say is that we see the intersection of all 7 of those issues in reparations. That if you look at all 7 of those issues, there have been, again, historic harms that have been caused to Black communities. And so we saw that as a way to really bring all of our work together in a push for Black reparations.
And then I'll ask, pass you the mic. And Derek, talk about your work as one of the organizations that's part of the California Black Power Network.
Well, I think it's fully understood the movement towards reparations it's just that. It's a movement, which has had moments over time as far as its growth. And I think in California, we have experienced, particularly in the last like 5 to 7 years, of a culmination of different events happening so that we can see the movement by way of policy, and as well as even just in the reporting of it, getting closer to the task at hand, which is making sure that people can actually be made whole and the harm can actually be repaired that James was actually talking about. When you think about the greater work of Bold Black LA, this is a consortium of about 75 different Black leaders from across LA County and Black-led organizations as well, who have been doing the work that is necessary to maintain place and space for Black folks in LA County, which we should like to call Big LA, and also figure out how we can bring and bridge that work that we're doing in our parts into a larger whole. The times that many of us get together is usually when there's an emergency that's taking place. And so we usually have to just respond to what's going on so we can make sure that, again, there's place and space for Black folks in whatever moment that be going on. I think a perfect example of that is when the tapes in LA City Hall went on.
The Nori Martinez,
yeah, exactly.
Gil Cedillo, Kevin De Leon.
Yeah, so there was
a
galvanizing force of making sure that the needs and understanding of what's going on with Black folks and how we show up, not only just in our political strengths, but also in the strengths that we have by way of economic and poverty relief to housing and houselessness for our people in our communities, as well as what's going on with our physical health and mental well-being. There was a larger conversation, another galvanizing force for that. And so we wanted to say we need to be able to have plan and action prior to emergency spaces. What is the call to action that we want to have and move forward? And the movement around reparations, beyond the 3 areas of focus I just mentioned, with money, housing, and health, is, those are all parts of the larger piece of what repairing the harm actually needs to look like. So it made sense for us to continue to pull the pieces together by what's happening here locally in LA, the work that's actually happening statewide as well, and start to make sure that we're moving towards not only just equity solutions, but really repairing that harm and making sure people can live whole, free, thriving lives. And
yeah, we do have a lot to talk about. I mean, certainly we're still digging our way out of the debacle of last summer, the reparations debacle on the part of the California Legislative Black Caucus. And I know you guys are doing some advocacy around the new bills. We'll look at that, and we'll look at the role that, the California Black Power Network is playing and where you think we can go from here. All of that is coming up. It is a Freedmen Friday, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Right now. Yeah, so we do have a lot to talk about, and we're being joined by Derek Steele of the Social Justice Learning Institute and James Woodson, Executive Director of the California Black Power Network. And I referenced the August 31st disaster. To me, it was a disaster, even though there's a lot of revisionist history going on right now. Our California black legislators decided to abandon the bills that they had previously championed and not put them up for a vote. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We don't have to go into the details. Pretty much everyone knows. Now we have a new slate of bills. I will mention, though, that in the aftermath of that, there were $12 million that were allocated, and a lot of people felt that it would go to organizations like the Black Power Network, which did not previously have a major commitment to reparations, or that any nonprofit wouldn't make sense. That that money should go to build an agency. It should go to give actual reparations. It should go to support reparatory programs within the government, as opposed to being given out to nonprofits, whether it be for studies or whatever it be for, because then you get to the point where lawmakers can just play favorites. We're going to give money here, we're going to give money there, and it might not be transparent. It might box out certain aspects of the movement and emphasize others. So how do you respond to that?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I would maybe dispute the notion that we didn't have a major commitment to reparations. We have been involved in reparations really since 2021. When the task force first started, we actually were in a space with the Green Lining Institute, with Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, and a whole bunch of other organizations who were actually, tracking the task force kind of initial, meetings and inner workings. And really kind of right after that, we got asked to be a part of the, community engagement steering committee that the task force propped up. So really that work
which was a group of different community-based organizations whose job was to get the community engaged, which that's what the name says.
That's right.
I think sometimes these acronyms and title kind of fly by in weird ways.
Sure. So, we have been not only working directly on reparations.
You say since 2021.
Since 2021.
Right.
But I would say that we have been involved in the work of reparatory, justice for Black folks, again, since 2016. Our organization actually even carries back, some of the roots and co-founders carry back to the 80s and the 70s. That said, I think what happened, at the end of the legislative cycle was unfortunate, right? Like, I think anytime we have Black folks arguing with each other, not being on the same page, it hurts the movement, right? Not to say that everybody's going to agree, but, particularly for that stuff to kind of roll out in public is not a good look for the movement. We actually held a kind of virtual town hall right after that situation, early to mid September. And we made it clear then, and, I'll clarify again here, that number one, we have never asked for any of that money, that $12 million. And I agree with what you just said, that money needs to go to repertory programs because that's what it really was earmarked for, right? And, you know, my organization, while we don't have the money that, you know, white and other kind of non-black organizations have, you know, we're doing okay. But we know, right, again, our goal is to make sure that the lived conditions of Black Californians are such that Black folks can thrive in the state and not just survive. And so I want to see resources go to Black community members, not necessarily to organizations like us. Like, again, we need organizations to do this work and to get behind the movement. But if that money was earmarked for Black community members, that money needs to be used in that way.
Well, I think part of the problem was it wasn't really earmarked at all. It was set aside for reparations. But again, you know, I've heard many different arguments. Well, that's not enough to stand up an agency or a bureau, but it's more of an enough than a nothing.
That's true.
Or what, and whatever programs actually are allowed to be signed out of the governor's office, which is a whole other conversation.
Right.
They're going to take.
Hopefully, we get into that.
It's going to take some. Yeah, it's going to take some resources to implement those, whatever they are.
That's right.
Starting with perhaps we need to buy a bigger pen for Governor Newsom. That we could spend a few bucks on that.
Or a different brain.
Well, yeah, that might be more expensive. Or just unhook the Neuralink. But anyway, so the question is, we do have I guess a slate of bills that are out now.
Yeah.
And the time for those bills to reach fruition is right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. They are moving through the legislative process. I think a few of them are in appropriations right now, which, you know, the moniker is that's where bills go to die, right? And so we're trying to make sure that those bills do not die. That they continue on, right? We know that this is a long process again, right? Like you saw the end of the legislative cycle was in kind of, you know, late August. And so we know that this, you know, at least this part of the fight will last for a few more months. But we also know, right, that this is not the end of the story, that we need bigger, bolder reforms. And really that's what our organization is ultimately interested in.
Some of these are not controversial. Some of them are. I'll say that, you know, I don't want to, again, go off on a tangent, but some people were upset that the California Legislative Black Caucus called this the Road to Repair 2025 instead of using the term reparations. Do you see that as a sign that they're trying to acquiesce to a Trump administration environment or backing off of a commitment to reparations, or is it not an issue for you?
Yeah, I don't think it's acquiescing at all. You know, going back to what James was saying about the global we, it's not just CBPN, it's the organizations that are all part of this movement. And again, this continuum that we've been a part of in helping to make sure the reparations can be brought to fruition, we've had to go with the ebb and flows of what's going on, because let's not pretend like the world that we're in wants to see this happen. Even in all the things that happened in August last year, the seeds of the separation of the camps and that created this out in the open conversation. I like to liken it to inside the house and outside the house conversations. The inside the house conversation ended up outside, and there was stoking that was happening either from media or from, you know, the Republicans who were involved in all this to actually stoke the flames of us being divided in all of this. And so I think as we come back to this and we start to have the conversations around how we march forward, we take the learnings that we have from those types of interactions and figure out how we best move the conversation forward into the future. And so reparations is about repairing the harm, right? So we're not changing the conversation. We're having the same conversation. We just, you know how to use language to be able to move our agenda to the forefront, while they're having all these global conversations around how they're trying to eliminate DEI and do this and all these different things.
We know how to use language, but also sometimes we like to use language to make it seem like we're doing things that we're not, because some of these things are not reparations, but they're part of a road to repair priority bill package.
For sure.
That makes it feel like you're playing in our face. Okay, that's a good thing, but don't call it reparations, right? So, I mean, I think you're right. We can use language to our advantage to continue to move the agenda, because it's not obviously not just talk, it's also action, to move the agenda forward. But when it's on some little things that aren't reparations, then why? Why are you doing that? I could give an example. I don't know if you... No, go ahead.
I would say that, clear as day, we know that one of the first pieces of reparations that we all see as Black folks is making sure that the check is cut on the things that are necessary for the harm done. So we need that. So when you say, so if you're looking at this, you don't see...
SB 464 seeks to expand employer-employee demographic data reporting to the Civil Rights Department for the purpose of enforcing civil rights protection under the existing law. That is not reparations.
I hear you.
That's civil rights enforcement. That's not reparations.
For sure.
So why are you doing that? Why are you playing in our faces like that? Especially after you back down from things that were clearly reparative.
Yeah. But, I'm not going to speak for the Black Caucus. They need to speak for themselves.
And the only, that, and big ups to Isaac Bryan, who's the only one who came in here and sat down with me after that.
Yeah. What I imagine that they're doing is, right, to me, that what you said about certain pieces of legislation not being reparations was also true last year, right? And but they called it reparations, right?
Fair point.
What I think is happening is that, what's really coming out is the Black Caucus's legislative package. Now, some of that includes reparations legislation. Some of it doesn't. And I think this year was an attempt to try to clarify, like, look, this whole package is not reparations.
Okay.
But again, they got to speak for themselves.
No,
I imagine
understood.
That's what's
as
happening.
Californians, and you're building Black Power, then we're looking at what we support and what we don't. I've got news, traffic, and sports here. There's a couple key bills that are reparations. I want to look at those when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud.
A great place for progressive politics.
KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial is done for the week after rapper Kid Cudi testified his car was firebombed in 2012 amid tensions over dating Cassie. He posted a video on X after Thursday's testimony.
This is a stressful situation. I'm glad it's behind me.
A makeup artist also described seeing Cassie with facial injuries. Combs faces life in prison if convicted. Authorities in Washington, D.C. say 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez confessed to killing 2 Israeli embassy staff in D.C. at the scene of the crime after a diplomatic event. Charged with murder, he reportedly told police, "I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza." And after a deadly tornado hit St. Louis, rapper Sexy Red pledged support for her hometown, saying she had major plans to help and urged residents to stay strong and patient. 5 people were killed and thousands affected. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Major props to Angels manager Ron Washington, one of only 2 Black managers in Major League Baseball. Washington has his team balling. The Angels won their 7th straight game Thursday with a 10-5 win at Oakland. The 7-game winning streak ties the Angels with Philadelphia for the longest active winning streak in Major League Baseball. The last time the Angels won 7 in a row was October 2nd, 2022. Thursday's win left the Angels just 1 game below 500 at 24-25. The Angels are at home tonight against Miami to start a 6-game homestand. The Dodgers begin a 6-game road trip tonight in New York against the Mets. Oklahoma City is up 2-0 over Minnesota in the NBA Western Conference Finals. 38 points last night for NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in OKC's 118-103 win. In the East, it's Game 2 tonight in New York. Indiana is up 1-0. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
You really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, we are for everybody. Right now, we're talking reparations. We do this every week on Friday. We've been doing it for a year and a half. Welcome in if it's your first time. And you're always invited to call 800-920-1580. We'll spend the last half hour of today's show from 8:30 to 9, just, whatever you want to talk about. So you may want to unpack some stuff. Before the clock runs away from me, James Woodson is here. He's Executive Director of the California Black Power Network. And Derek Steele, who's the Executive Director of the Social Justice Learning Institute of Inglewood. Mm-hmm. You have an event coming up. Let's get that on the record right now.
Yeah. And actually, Derek, I might let you talk about, I know you've been more involved in it. But,
Yeah. So, I don't know if y'all remember when Cheeto and the gang, he did his State of the Union speech, and black folks, many of us didn't participate because we were too busy online, having a space called State of the People, where various platforms, Native Land Pod, I think, Roland Martin as well, his platform, and several others, were having internal discussions around what things we need to be focusing on and things we want to do to make sure we can elevate the needs of black folks in this moment and beyond. And there were millions of people who participated during that time frame, so much so that there was a movement to actually make it a tour. And so they have been touring in several cities across the country over the last month and a half, and Los Angeles happens to be the last stop on that tour for State of the People. Folks like Angela Rye and others are helping to like move this conversation forward. And the California Black Power Network, Bull Black LA, several different organizations from across LA County are engaged and involved in this. It's a 2-day event that we're going to have on June 6th and 7th. One in LA and another space in Altadena, because we want to make sure that the conversation about what the needs of Black folks are centered in the things that are happening in LA right now, and we need to keep the discussion going on how we can repair the harm that was done in by way of the fires in Altadena. So we're really excited. There will be a rally. There's several different conversations, a field a field conversation with elected officials coming in. We're going to be really bringing folks to the table on this. So you'll see the flyers out there. Be on the lookout for it. We want people to kind of pull up. It is on BET weekend, so I know everybody will have other activities that they're trying to get into, but we need to also have conversation about what's happening with people.
Okay, so talk to me about this, because I've been reading about it, and to me it seems like a whole bunch of lips moving without feet moving.
Great question. And we've been hearing and feeling the same thing. And so our point of view was like, if we're going to do it in LA, we're going to focus on what's going on in LA and bring the movement builders in LA to the table to really make sure that we can carry the momentum that has started from the top of the year. I mean, when you think about when the fires actually took place and the movement of support that actually took place amongst Black folks across this county.
Yeah, it's been remarkable.
There's been a lot of energy
and it's
momentum.
continuing, which
Absolutely.
is great.
And not only that, like there have been spaces. The Black Equity Collective, led by Casey Patterson, they had their symposium last week. About 250 people from who are doing organizing from around LA who came together to have conversations about how we can keep the mantle going. Like they're having those outside discussions, what's going on in the federal government or what's going on in the state, budget wise, all that. We are making sure that Black folks are still coming together to have a discussion about what we need.
I mean, you're part of the California Black Power Network. Of course, that makes sense. You're building power in California, but you're supporting a tour that's going around, right? And I don't understand what is the purpose of that tour? What is it actually doing?
Sure.
I mean, I got my nerve. I talk for a living, so obviously talking is good. But I'm just not I'm not getting what we're getting done with this.
Yeah, well, let me say this. I think to Derek's point, the idea, particularly about LA, I can't speak for other cities, is to actually connect with groups on the ground that are doing the work, right? Which is why we are so involved in it, because you got these folks like Angela Rye and Joy Reid who have a national platform. There are people who listen to them.
Yeah, sure. I listen to Joy.
Yeah,
and even Angela sometimes.
But a lot of the folks that listen to them in California may not be actually connected and rooted in community. In community organizations that are actually doing the work, that are involved in reparations. We know that there are Black folks in California who may not even know that reparations is happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's one of the reasons I started Freedmen Friday.
That's right.
I mean, I was talking to leaders, like Black community leaders,
who have no idea,
that didn't know how the work was moving. So that's why we started this. So you're using the incredible drawing power and brain power of these women, and this tour, which involves not just them but others.
That's right.
To create communication between various organizations here in the state of California.
And I should lift up though that the national infrastructure that's helping to build this tour is pushing things in that direction to make sure that the folks on the ground can create the narrative of what their stop would actually look like. Right. Yes, there might be more global like panels that they want to have on there, but it's less about that, more about what's happening.
You're saying they're creating the space for any organizer wherever they are landing to customize the experience. Exactly. All right, we're going to leave that there because this is Freedmen Friday. We got some bills to talk about. Obviously, our, I think, third or fourth attempt at getting rid of slavery in the state of California. I hope that's not controversial, but it could be. I don't know.
I don't know why.
Are you supporting that?
We are. I think that there has been some watering down already of that bill.
That's ACA 6, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And so, I know a lot of the reason why folks said that it didn't sort of, pass last time was folks didn't know what involuntary servitude meant and things like that.
Lies.
I
call BS.
Yeah.
You don't know what that is unless your boss calls you and says, I'm going to make you work and you don't get paid. Okay. So you think it's watered down, but you're supporting it anyway. How do you water it down? Okay.
Yeah. There's language, right, where they're trying to kind of strip slavery out of it. Or maybe it's just keep slavery in, taking voluntary servitude out. There's kind of playing with the language. We're not thrilled about that. So it's definitely not one of the bills that we're prioritizing.
Okay. Here's a bill that I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you guys are supporting. Sure. I read some folks are. And I think you're part of this group, so that's why I think you might be. SB 437, this is a Weber-Pearson, the most controversial one, requiring the California State University to independently research and report on scientific methodology to determine an individual's genealogical fingerprint, blah, blah, blah. This is where I part company with some folks. It feels like, and I'm not saying I'm the grand reparationist, it's just maybe you can clarify. For me, it feels like yet another study. I know that some of the other things, like the Bureau, depend on this to move forward. And to me, that's a problem. This is basically the governor's wishes as a bill.
Yeah.
Are you guys supporting it?
The coalition that we're a part of, Alliance for Reparations, Reconciliation, and Truth, or ART, is supporting it.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Yeah. It's not one of the bills, again, that CBPN in particular is prioritizing. And the reason...
CBPN being California Black Power Network.
Sorry, acronyms. Right. Yes. And part of the reason for that is because... there's so many dynamics involved, right? To your point, right? The governor has gotten involved in this issue. There's questions around, data privacy, which is really why we got involved to make sure that there's provisions, right? If this is a bill that's going to move, we need to make sure that Black folks are not going to get targeted, through their data.
I mean, I think that's a fair point. But the concern that this could be a poison pill that stops any other reparations legislation from moving forward because we have to wait for the study to be finished and there's no sunset on it, to me, that supersedes everything.
Yeah.
So if that is not fixed, there's a difference between it being a priority and being a problem.
Sure.
Right? If it's a problem, it should not only not be a priority, it should be something that we organize against.
Sure. What I would say is...
Or organize to change it.
Sure. What I would say is, that number one, there needs to be some sort of infrastructure in place to make sure that we're, having accountability and oversight over the whole kind of reparations lens. Now, I think that there's also existing infrastructure that can be used to administer, a reparations kind of, series of programs. I agree with you, right? That more like the task force did their 2 years of study. I think that they came up with a framework for who's eligible. I do think that, we need to make sure that, folks who are not eligible are kept out of, getting benefits from reparations processes. And so I think even if this bill passed, we would want it to be a very sort of quick process so that we can get, again, going back to the $12 million, we think that people need to get benefits from this.
Right.
And the quicker that we can do that, the quicker, we think that Black folks can get to liberation.
Okay, so as of right now, you're still supporting it, but...
Largely, again, to make sure that there's data privacy protections.
I mean, I get all that, but to me, if it's blocking everything else from happening, and I don't understand why couldn't that happen inside of a bureau? Why does it need to be a whole bill with an endless study that can end up tanking everything, stalling everything.
Well, the Bureau and the study are really kind of two separate things.
I know.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Why couldn't the Bureau administer their own, administer their own deeper dive or solidification of the framework that's already been created by the task force?
And maybe we have a different understanding about the bill. My understanding is that the study is not going to hold up the Bureau's process. We actually have other bills, right? AB 57, AB 62. One is like home assistance for descendants of enslaved persons.
That's
the other
McKinner's bill.
That's right.
And you're supporting that.
We're supporting that.
I mean, clearly, that would be reparation. At least it goes under the category of reparations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As does all of the things we're discussing, I would say, so far.
But, maybe my point, right, is another AB 62, which is, eminent domain restitution. I don't think that those pieces are waiting on a study. I think those things can move. I think the way that they're written, that they can move without the study under a bureau or under any sort of kind of framework.
Maybe. I mean, AB 62 seeks to create pathways for victims of racially motivated eminent domain to seek redress.
Yeah.
So that's, that could be reparations. Racially motivated could include Latino, Asian, whatever. So I guess you wouldn't need a definition of who's eligible. But the home assistants, descendants of American chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Now we have to go back to 437 and wait for the California State University to decide what that genealogical fingerprint is for verification of who's a descendant of an enslaved. Anything that fits that lineage model, including Isaac Bryan's bill to authorize priority admissions, which I do believe, unlike some others, is reparations for priority admissions, but we have to wait for Governor Weber Pearson's bill to determine who's eligible. It doesn't have to be written there. It's obvious. If the state of California is commissioning a 500-year study to figure out who's eligible, we have to wait for that study to be done before anyone can claim eligibility.
Again, I think if you read the Bureau, the bill language in the Bureau bill, you'll see that the director is responsible for administering and determining eligibility. I think that the study is there to, again, make sure that people who are not eligible are really sort of kept out of that process. I don't read the Bureau bill as being dependent on the study.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, well, that's something that I many reparations activists do believe. And from my reading of it, not that I'm a lawyer, it does appear that. And, when I've spoken with legislators about this, they have also said that could be a problem. My response from them was, we can fix it. So where's the fix? It needs a sunset. You can't have a study that's going to go on forever, that's making a definition of who's eligible for reparations, and then say, well, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
When you have a governor who's already vetoed, like eminent domain, racially biased eminent domain repair, and the governor is at least part of the reason for the debacle of last summer. So I think to just step out on faith and say, well, let's go with 437 because probably the Bureau can override this, it doesn't seem wise.
Well,
I think to that end, because you also brought up Isaac Bryan's bill, AB 7.
Yeah.
I think the moving pieces on different bills can actually help to push the mantle on others, right? So that bill being so straightforward and being very understanding of, those who are descendant of enslaved folks in America being able to have the opportunity, and let the universities decide what that criteria is, which will probably end up in court, like you said, and like the quickness on that move.
Let the universities decide, but the universities have been empowered by the legislature and the government to decide through a study that has no end date.
But I want to underscore 209 is still an aspect that has to be dealt with in all of this.
The
as well,
anti-affirmative
right?
action.
Exactly, right?
Right.
And so going down this pathway of having to actually really define, who we are talking about with this, and also having a designation, that could, go all the way to the Supreme Court. And the way that this may go, this can actually change the landscape, not just here in the state of California, but actually across the nation. So this movement, again, I want to start by what I was saying before. This is a continuum of work. Like we are very critical in pinpointing the pieces that we are at right now in this moment. But the things that we are doing in this moment actually open up the door for the future rollout of what reparations actually look like in this country.
Well, Ronnie Lynn's saying in the chat that the task force has already decided the framework. You said the same thing, James Woodson. So why do we need another study?
Well, what I would say is that the task force report doesn't tell you how you prove eligibility.
Right.
It tells you who is eligible.
But a bureau could do that.
Absolutely.
We don't need the study.
Absolutely. And
so my recommendation, not like I said, for what it's worth, is no on SB 437 and yes on a bureau. Why do we need both?
Well, again, to Derek's point, my question to whoever would be supporting a bureau and not supporting, a study. Now, I agree with you that a study doesn't need to be extensive. I wouldn't even call it a study. I think we need a framework.
Well, then why doesn't Weber Pearson or somebody in the legislature put forth an amendment that sunsets that study after 1 year?
I absolutely agree with that.
Then I would support it.
And that's
fair. That's fair.
We could work to take that back.
All right. So, Miles is working with me here. Thank you, Miles. I appreciate you. So, SB 518 established a bureau for descendants of American slavery.
Yeah.
Are you supporting that?
We are. Yes. Again, I think, I led kind of saying we need an infrastructure. We need accountability. We need, a bureau that's going to, sort of monitor, the rollout of all of these different programs, 115 proposals. And so, yes, it's a bill that we're certainly supporting. Again, we think that direct benefits is where the priority needs to be, which is why we prioritize AB 5762 and AB 7.
57 is the home purchases.
Right.
Yes, you said 62 was redress for eminent domain, even though that's for anybody who's suffered racially motivated. And then what was the other
AB
one?
7.
AB 7, which is to clarify 209, ensure state, local, and county institutions understand the intent and parameters. What would that actually do, though? Because it doesn't overturn 209, right?
Well, I think you're talking about Corey Jackson's bill. This is Isaac Bryan's bill, AB 7, that would give preferential treatment.
Oh, I got you. AB 7, right,
yeah.
As opposed to ACA. Okay,
that's right.
Got you.
Right. So for us, those are the priorities because those are giving direct benefits, right? The Bureau is important, right? We think that, again, there needs to be infrastructure, but we're more interested in how do we get direct benefits to Black folks in the quickest way possible.
Oh, man, we only have a few minutes here. Would you say that $12 million, which is hopefully still sitting there, would make sense for it to go for the administration of a Bureau, or so that if, AB 57 or AB 7, the higher education, the home buyer assistance, when we haven't even talked about, universal basic income. If these things come into play, that they would be administered through that agency as opposed to giving them out to nonprofits, those dollars.
So again, our priority is to get those benefits out to community members, not to organizations. I think that 12 million could be used again for the home assistance program, could be used for the eminent domain pieces. That's where we would prioritize it. I think $12 million, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, is not enough for us to do much of anything. And so we think that there needs to be more money. But certainly I think we would prioritize how do we get, direct benefits, direct assistance, direct resources to community members. And that's how we kind of see those three bills giving those direct benefits as quickly as possible.
And sadly, we do not have the funding mechanism similar to what Bradford put forth last year, which would be the obvious place for those dollars to go to fund any reparations-based programs or legislation.
That's certainly something we would want to see in the future, right? Like the caucus needs to bring things like that. We need systemic reforms that are actually going to fuel, right, the infrastructure, fuel the benefits that are needed here.
For sure.
For folks that want to connect with your California Black Power Network or, Bold Black LA, give us your contact, how to follow you.
Yeah. So our website is blackpowernetwork.org. Our handles on all of the kind of social media, we are not on X, but everywhere else is BLK Power Network. You can find us there. We would love to connect. We've got, newsletters that we send out to keep folks informed in what we're doing. And then the State of the People tour, I think is stateoftheppl.com that folks can go to.
For sure.
And you and Bold Black LA?
You can follow us at Bold Black LA on all platforms. And I encourage folks, continue to be a part of the conversation. Tell your stories. The bills are actually happening. Lend your voice to what's happening. There will be opportunities to actually go up to the state in Sacramento over the next several months. We want you to come with us, make your case, so we can make sure that we can push this mantle forward and be our part of the continuum of work.
I mean, right now, I feel like in this era of our country, this chapter of our book, the fact that reparations continues to move on the city, county, and state levels is remarkable.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is one thing folks can grab onto if they need to feel encouraged, inspired, and motivated in the middle of the encroachment of authoritarianism and fascism in our country.
That's right. Yeah, we need to, both defend our, values and rights, but we also need to push in the direction of what we want to see. We think that that's what reparations is about, and so that's why we're still working on it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in. It's always much better when folks are here face to face. James Woodson and Derek Steele, appreciate you. We've got a special musical vibe coming up for your weekend, and then we're opening up these phone lines. It ain't over. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.